Hey everyone, it's Laura here from makingcardsisfun.com, and today I'm here with a card for Heffy Doodle since I recently joined their design team. I'm so excited and I really can't wait to share my creations made with the Heffy Doodle products. In today's video, I'll be creating an ink-blended ombre effect with the Heffy Doodle Cogs and Codes stencil. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm starting out with a die-cut rectangle. I die-cut this rectangle using the Imperial stitched rectangles die-cut set from Heffy Doodle, and I'm using some masking tape to tape down this piece of cardstock to my craft sheet. I'm doing this so that my cardstock won't be moving around while I ink blend. I'm starting out with picked raspberry distress oxide ink to create my ombre. So I am going from light to dark. Next, I'm using Seedless preserves. This is a really beautiful purple color and it goes really well with the picked raspberry. After applying that color, I am going back in with my pink to blend out those two colors, or just to create a nice gradient, because I don't want to see any harsh lines. I want all of this to be very smooth. So I'm just always switching between those two brushes to create a nice gradient. Then I'm going in with my third color, which is Faded Jeans. And just like I did to blend out the purple and the pink, I am now going back in with the purple brush to create a nice gradient. After creating my gradient, it's time to use the Cogs and Codes stencil from Heffy Doodle to create a really fun background. This time I am going in with black Soot Distress Oxide ink to create a really cool background. Notice that I'm using some of the Heffy Doodle low tack tape to kind of hold down my paper, or just to have a grip while I use that stencil. I'm lifting up my stencil and then you can see that really fun and cool pattern. I'm going to repeat that step, so I turned my stencil around and then I am going to create that same pattern on the bottom of this paper so that it would look like almost like a piece of pattern paper. So, and you can still see the gradient, and then with the black soot I created a nice contrast which I really like. Now that I finished my background, it's time to stamp and color the adorable robots from the Bots of Love stamp set from Heffy Doodle. I am using two of the robots, and then I'm also stamping the heart and the little flower. I'm coloring all of my images using Copic sketch markers. For the reds, I'm using R29, R24, and R22. Then for my flower, I'm using YG09, YG06, and YG03. For the actual robots, I'm going in with N0, N1, N2, and N3. I always start out by using the lightest color just to get those colors moving. Then I use my darkest color to add some shading. Then I use a slightly lighter shade. Then I go in with the mid-tone color, and then finally I blend everything together using that lightest shade again. To add some purple to these robots, I'm using BV08, BV04, and BV02. I'm going to do some heat embossing for my sentiments, and I like to use kitchen flour and a paintbrush to prep my cardstock and to remove any static cling. You can use the kitchen flour instead of a Martha Stewart powder tool or one of those powder bags to prep your cardstock. Kitchen flour works great as well. I'm stamping my sentiment using Versamark ink, and then I'm going to sprinkle on Wow Opaque Bright White Embossing Powder. This is the super fine embossing powder, which is great for sentiments. I'm using my heat tool to heat set my embossing powder until it's melted completely, and then I use my paper trimmer to trim down my sentiment banner. I'm going in with these little V-shaped die cuts from the More Strips of Ease die cut set from Heffy Doodle to create a nice fishtail banner. And this makes it just so much easier than cutting it with scissors, because I always have trouble lining them up perfectly and getting like even fishtail banners. So these dies are definitely great for that. I'm using some foam squares to adhere my sentiment banner to my ombre ink blended background. And I'm using the same foam squares to adhere my adorable little robots and the heart and the flower. I used one of these rectangle dies from the Imperial stitched rectangle jacket set from Heffy Doodle once more. This time I used some blueberry cardstock from Heffy Doodle, and I'm going to adhere my finished ink blended ombre background to this cardstock using some foam tape. I also die cut a rectangle using the Oyster shell cardstock from Heffy Doodle, and then I adhered that to a note card. The finished card measures 5 inch by 3 3/4 inch. I'm using my Scotch ATG to adhere all of that on my note card, making sure that I am aligning this perfectly straight. To add some shimmer and some shine to this card, I'm going in with the Spectrum Noir clear gloss sparkle pen, or the clear overlay pen actually. And this is a really great way to add some clear sparkle to your images and to really take your cards to the next level. I also like to go in with Tonic Studios Crystal Glaze to add some extra dimension and extra shine to my cards. Finally, I am using some sequins on this card. These are all sequins from Pretty Pink Posh in the tongue. And I like to use some liquid glue. I like to dip my sequins into the glue, then tap off the excess and then adhere them to my cards. And that finishes up my card. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and click the notification bell below so you'll never miss an update. Thanks again, and I'll see you very soon. Bye bye!